Hi, this is Paul Strobl. Thanks so much for watching my channel. Today, I want to talk about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. And today we have Dr. Angela Cotellessa, who is the author of In Pursuit of Polymaths, Understanding Renaissance Persons of the 21st Century. And as you probably know by watching my channel, I work with a lot of polymaths, Renaissance people, multi-potentialites, scanners. There's a lot of names for us. Nobody can decide what it is exactly, but polymath is the official word. And so now today we have an expert who has a PhD in polymathy. Please welcome Dr. Angela Cotellessa.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
Welcome,
Thanks for having
Angela.
me.
Yeah, no worries. My pleasure. So if you could just start out, I guess, just give me a little brief introduction to who you are as a polymath and as a coach.
Yes. Well, as a polymathic person, let's see. When I was about 18, I figured out I want to have a rich, deep, broad life. I don't want to live life kind of caged or in a box. So, for the past, God, I'll tell you, I'm 39. So for over 20 years, I've really just been trying to live life to the fullest. So how that has turned out for me professionally is, I've had a nonprofit career. I have a government career currently. I have a for-profit career in a family real estate business. I am part of a nonprofit board for a local singing group, which I also perform in. I have this, a hat as a scholar, obviously. I got my doctorate from George Washington University in 2018 and wrote my dissertation about polymathic people. So, and I do identify that way myself. So that's a little bit about me as a polymath. I
Awesome.
also work as a coach too. I should mention
that. Tell me about your coaching, coach to coach.
Yeah. So I probably don't have as much coaching experience as you do, Paul, but in January of 2020, I got certified through the Academy of Creative Coaching and have been it's not a full-time thing for me, but I certainly would love to do more and more coaching. I really enjoy working with polymathic people in particular, given the kind of understanding and appreciation I have for that group. So if you're watching this and you're looking for a coach, you got Paul, you got me, you got some good options here.
Yeah, and somebody with deeper expertise into really understanding polymaths, you won't find anybody more qualified than Angela. So
that's very
absolutely
sweet. That's very sweet. Thank you.
So do you see any unique link between polymaths and coaching?
So polymaths are lifelong self-directed learners. Like if there was one crux of what a polymathic person is, they're learners. In fact, that's what the word means, is many learnings. So, and I know that so many of them, part of the drive underlying their desire to learn and grow and experience is just this drive to be their best selves. Polymaths are striving towards self-actualization. And so that's, I definitely see a parallel with coaching, because a lot of coaching clients, obviously, like, they're trying to improve who they are. They're trying to reach their goals. They're trying to live their best life. So I definitely see a link between polymathic people and people who seek out coaching. They just sort of, it jives, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. All right. So is there anything unique about coaching polymaths?
It's not necessarily easy being a polymath in a world that tells us that everybody should be a narrow specialist, because polymaths don't want to be narrow specialists. So understanding that it's not all fun and games, for Paul, like, even though a polymath is accomplished and capable and intelligent, they also have burdens and challenges. So working with a coach who really gets the kind of unique challenges that polymaths face, including just like being misunderstood, and people not appreciating necessarily polymathic people, especially in some organizations. So getting that it's difficult, and that career can be difficult, switching careers, polymaths may do that, and there's challenges, and they may need support throughout that process. Even social considerations like explaining one's polymathy to other people, it can be seen as boasting or something. You know, people can be threatened by it. So a lot of polymaths sort of censor and let out little bits of who they are in doses. But there definitely are social challenges with being a polymathic person in our current society. And similarly, relationships, like romantic relationships and dating, and even being in a long-term relationship or marriage, like as a polymath shifts and changes and morphs into new and better versions of themselves, you know, those can be difficult roads to go down. Still worthy of exploration for sure, but working with a coach who sort of gets the unique challenges of being a polymathic person is important. So, and those are just a few examples of the kinds of challenges polymaths would need to be understood about.
Yeah, I find for sure that, you know, in our society, parents typically want their kids to do the safe thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means specialization. That means specialization in something that's in demand, right? And so that's the first struggle, right? is usually with the parents and what they're supposed to do. There aren't many parents that are just super open to that. And the other thing is there's cultural differences, right? I think in North America and most of Western Europe, there's this negative connotation with doing lots of different things since the Industrial Revolution, but before that it was different. And then, you know, when I was in Argentina, there's a word called buscavidas. Buscavidas, if you're a buscavidas, you're somebody, it's literally says life searcher, like you're searching for lives kind of thing. And it's considered something very positive in Argentina, like somebody that does a lot of different things. It's a positive connotation, whereas I think in the US, it's, you know, you're a jack of all trades, master of none. And it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Yeah, or you're distracted or flighty or uncommitted. And yeah, there's a lot of storytelling in North American culture about, you know, picking a discipline, picking a profession and sticking with it.
And we listen to it, we hit ourselves over the head with it sometimes. So
yeah, exactly.
So we embrace it, right?
But we should question it. Is it true?
Yes.
Is it true? Is that really the only way that we can live and be fulfilled? And I think it's not. I think a lot of people really want to live life in multifaceted, multidimensional ways that shift over time. And back to, you made a comment about, you know, parents wanting their kids to sort of specialize and be safe. I definitely heard that from some of the people I interviewed as part of my research. And I remember a few years ago, I'm a mother, I have a 4-year-old daughter. And I remember having this realization that, like, I want one of my guiding principles as I parent my daughter to be helping her be her real self, like loving her unconditionally enough to let her be the author of her story rather than me try to write it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Lived it
Sure.
personally, so I get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think there's two parts. One is you want your kid to do the safe thing and that they have a good life. But I think the other part of it is shame. But the parents' shame is, what kind of parent am I if people ask what my kid's up to and they're doing all of these different things and they're not working for a big company that everybody knows, moving up the corporate ladder? You know, I look like a bad father, right? If my kid is doing that. So I think there's lots of parts to it. So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we won't unpack it this time.
Yeah, I feel like we could have a whole talk just about, like,
that could be just that. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So so what do you love most about working with polymathic people?
Well, I'm obviously very biased. I think it's a wonderful way of living, to live life in a polymathic way, and being able to help people appreciate that instead of kind of judging themselves negatively or having shame around it. I love seeing the shift when people get it, that this is a thing and they're not alone and this is a wonderful way of being. and actually quite a respectable way of being, if you ask me, because it does require some critical thinking and some bravery um, and some capability and some intelligence, you know. So I love seeing people who get it. And by the way, obviously I speak about this topic quite frequently, and so frequently people will say, finally, I have a word for this. Thank you. I mean, I've even had
Yeah.
someone tell me that I saved her life by giving her like this sort of understanding of herself.
Yes.
And so that's one thing I love. It's just people sort of having a label for it, a word. Even though polymaths tend to shy away from labels and boxes, having the polymath label seems to be quite helpful for them. So I love seeing them get comfortable with that identity, and then the power that can come from really owning it and stepping into it, and what that makes possible. Obviously, as a coach, working with people, gaining self-awareness and accomplishing their goals and gaining confidence in themselves, that's a wonderful thing. I'm sure you can understand that. Just seeing people reach their potential too, you know, like stepping into their potential rather than living out of fear. And you know, one of the things I observed, okay, like we're each born to our parents. Like there's a certain kind of genetic inheritance we get that we don't get any say over, you know. Like I didn't get to pick that I would be born female and Caucasian in the United States. Like that all just sort of happened and was done to me. But I love this idea of giving birth to myself. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's like a bad visual. But
breathe, Angela.
But you know, just like the bird that sort of uncages itself, or the hand that writes its own story. I just love the idea of helping people break out of a box, break out of society's expectations, and really own their life. Like what could be more important than like really being authentic and making the most out of your human experience, living your best life. I just don't know what could be more important than that. So that's why I love working with polymaths. I'm a big fan of polymaths.
Of course, I get that. We're both not biased at all, right?
Right.
So why should people work with you as a coach?
Well, I obviously have a preference for working with polymathic people. I have a passion for that group. I can work with non-polymaths too, but I think, you know, I've got a lot of experiences, a lot of different tools in my toolkit. I think that positions me as a coach to ask really thoughtful, strategic questions to help people find their own answers, their own solutions, their own epiphanies. I think I'm a good listener. I think I'm fairly good at creating an environment that feels safe psychologically. And, you know, I think I'm good at helping people get energized, you know, to make a plan and follow through and have some accountability. So for people who are looking for understanding, who are looking for support, who are looking for, you know, strategic coaching to help them reach their goals, let me know. I'd love to work with you. Uh-oh, did we just, I think, oh,
there you go.
Back.
You're back. Awesome. So what do you wish other coaches knew who might be working with polymathic people? And says, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So for other coaches out there, there's a lot of coaches, obviously, the people, you're a coach, I'm a coach, there's lots of coaches in the world. And it is important to find someone that you feel like you jive with, you know, you got a good connection with. So should you work with another coach and should you be a polymath, I would recommend looking for someone who has experience working with other polymathic people as their clients. Polymaths are brave, they're rebellious, they're authentic, they're curious, lifelong, self-directed learners who break out of the box. So they're not kind of the standard average person in society that's following the prescription to be a neurospecialist. So working with a coach who can understand their unique challenges obviously is something you would want to look for in a coach. Another thing is some polymaths do survive in organizations. They may even work as a neurospecialist in an organization and then have other things that they pursue outside of work to explore their polymathy. So it can be challenging, though, to be a polymathic person working as a specialist in an organization that maybe doesn't even really understand that about you or appreciate that or leverage that. It can be very frustrating to be a highly talented, highly intelligent, highly capable person that's not really able to bring your full self to your main job. And so working with a coach who can sort of help you in a professional setting navigate those waters or come up with coping mechanisms so you can sort of get by and feel fulfilled beyond your 40-hour week kind of gig, if that's what you're doing, and find other ways to find fulfillment. And then the other practical thing is just polymaths frequently are juggling a lot. Like, not all polymaths do multiple things at once, but that's certainly a very common pattern of how it shows up for people. So working with a coach who can help you identify priorities, who can help you sort of focus and reach goals, get some traction and accomplish things you want to get done would be really important too. So I guess bottom line is, if you're a polymath and you're looking for a coach, find a coach who gets that audience and who really understands it. And obviously, if you work with a coach who's polymathic, him or herself, like, that might be a good start.
Yeah, I find that even though I don't target polymath specifically, I definitely work with a disproportionate amount of polymaths.
Yes.
Coaching kind of works like that. You know, I think there's like attracts like, and your coaching practice starts looking like you, and you don't have a lot of control over that. It happens that way. So it's nice to be intentional about it, of saying, okay, I want to work with polymaths. I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a group of people that are, I think we're going to be seeing more and more people who are identifying as polymaths and talking about it. It's really getting a lot more traction, especially in the past year or two. So I think it's more relevant than ever.
I think we're going to see a lot more people, and I've seen it a bit on my end, just working with individuals, that it's becoming more acceptable to be a polymath, and they're kind of coming out of the closets. And in some ways, it's almost like it would be this shameful thing to completely change their career or to do something else that they'd be worried about being judged by doing these different things. And I'm seeing more people a little more emboldened to kind of stretch out and actually exercise their curiosity more. Where in the past they probably would have held back. So maybe it's because I'm connecting with people that are mid-40s like me, but I don't know. It seems to be there's more of it.
Yeah, I definitely see a trend at the individual level for people kind of questioning that standard prescription and saying, I think I want to do my own thing and kind of make my own or follow my own path a little bit more. Plus, at the kind of larger, beyond the individual level, kind of at the meso or macro levels of society, there's just, our world is so complex. Like, we need people who can see big picture solutions and connect the dots, synthesize. If all we have are people with kind of specialist blinders on, we need specialists. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm disrespecting them, but we also need people who can see the bigger picture. And so 2020 is a great example of a really wild, crazy, complex time. And so I think as our world keeps getting more and more complex, we really need people who can sort of see the bigger picture and innovate at the intersection of disciplines. So both at the individual and kind of group level, I think we're seeing a shift towards an appreciation for polymaths more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I do want to I guess, side note, we absolutely need specialists
Yeah.
just as much as we need polymaths. It's not like one is better than the other. I mean,
Right.
I am so grateful that planes do not fall out of the sky very often, because they're
Yeah.
specialists who make sure that they stay up there.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot that goes on in the world that is dependent upon specialists being specialists. And
Absolutely. We need specialists. But the narrative we've been under has said everybody should be a
we
specialist.
only need specialists. Yes.
And
yes.
that imbalance
That's the
is problematic.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.